We have actually very good case studies, not only about what's the current customer problem and how we solved it, but we also share the estimates in work hours, not in dollars, but you can get an idea how long it takes to develop a device that measures temperature and communicates with LTE. And because that's quite often the problem that the client has is how long it's going to take.
Today, my guest is Łukasz. Łukasz is the founder and CEO of WizzDev. Łukasz, thank you for joining me today. Welcome to my podcast. And please introduce yourself, introduce WizzDev, and tell us what you guys do.
Hi, Pete. Yeah, I'm Łukasz Szekowski, CEO and co-founder of WizzDev. We do embedded software and electronics for medical devices and home and smart city. So our clients usually have their own device that they manufacture themselves, and it has a bit of electronics, and we would write the software that goes inside and integrate it with cloud. So that's quickly us.
Really, really cool. Yeah, that's very niched specialization and very technical, and it's unusually for us, it's a combination of software and hardware. So let's start with how it all started for you, right? How did you find that there is a space for helping companies with this, your background, how it all started with WizzDev?
Yeah, so the short story is I always want to have a company, like a lot of people. Yeah, and I was looking for opportunity to start one. Agency seems like easy to start because you have a cash flow right away. So a good recipe is to switch to self-employed and then go from one contract to another. And then at some point, try to hire people under yourself and build the agency. Yeah. So that's a good, I think, recipe in general for people trying to start an agency. Yeah. And that's actually what happened to me. I used to be a director back in Oxford, and I quit that job and start contracting, LTD contractor in the UK. And then contracts are naturally 6 to 12 months. So you have a time to see whether things like building a relationship will work out and so on. And at some point, I managed to find a client to try to build a company around that. Didn't work out, but there's an agent between you and the client. So how to work directly with your client, that was a challenge. And finally, one of my first clients was DNA Electronics from London. Basically, I was a contractor there, and it happens that they needed help and more help. And I have a good network of people, and we built a company around that first client. And they're still one of our good clients. They do sepsis detection platform using DNA sequencing, very novel, cutting-edge technology. And that was actually my background. Prior to working with 4D Electronics, I worked for two other major companies that built DNA sequencing machines. Yeah. So that was something that I managed to gather around my career, and that's how we get started.
Amazing. What a story. So you come from the industry, right? And you just wanted to do it by yourself, took the leap, took the risk, managed to find the first client, failed. It's always a good start to a fantastic story. You need to fail quite a few times until there is a success. And there was a bit of a pivot, and you found the grounds, found your market, found the product market fit, and that there was a need for something that you do. So I would like to understand also type of projects that you do. Maybe talk about it, either something that you find the most exciting recent projects or something that you are working on right now, just so the listeners have a little bit more understanding of what kind of devices we're talking and what more of possibilities you open for companies.
Definitely, yeah. Most of our projects are generally called IoT, so Internet of Things products. Yeah, they usually fall into category either medtech, so medical device, or life science devices, or home and smart city. And there's a lot of cutting edge in both. Sometimes, we usually have quite non-trivial projects. There's an aspect of R&D to it. There's aspect of novel, and we connect those devices to the cloud. Yeah. So for most recent interesting one is so over last 7 years, we've of course pivoted from DNA Electronics. We have now many more clients. We went through ups and downs. We can talk about this later. But now we actually have clients that come to us to build not only electronics, but built a lot of edge computing. Yeah, a lot of people call it edge AI, but basically it's a lot of devices that either have not only just electronics, but have some quite acceleration in the device. So not all of the data can go, doesn't have to go to the cloud. Yeah. So for things like, personal assistant, we have a personal assistant project where you would talk to the device and only the commands that you're sending is leaving the device. Yeah. So none of your voice, none of the text that you're talking to the device is going to the cloud or anywhere. So if you tell it to the device, open the door, yeah, it's just the command that is going to open the door of the device, none of your personal information. Yeah? So a lot of those devices are usually based on NVIDIA Jetson, or some smaller versions of devices. This is a niche, yeah, but it's a rapidly growing niche. Yeah. So most of them cannot even talk about the content. In this case, I cannot also discuss the background. Yeah? So probably and electronics is still one of the interesting ones to talk. It's also internet connected devices, the device that tests whether you have a sepsis. Yeah. And because it's funded through a BARDA program, US BARDA program, then a lot of that information is public because it was funded through that grant. Yeah. So if the device is not sending all of your data to the cloud, yeah, it's one blood sample inside the instrument and just giving the results on the screen. And then if needed, sends that to the cloud. Yeah. So if, it is quite novel and there's no more complex device out there. So if, we get involved in quite interesting projects.
Oh, fantastic. This is actually quite interesting what you've raised about, putting your data through cloud or being on a device. Is that a bit concerned now for the end users, for companies really to keep it on a device rather than device being just catching that voice and it's processed somewhere else? Is that something that you're finding that there is a big focus right now in IoT devices?
Yeah, because the power, compute power is bigger and bigger on inside those devices. Bigger expectation that connecting to the cloud is not mandatory. Yeah, so we have a client from Cambridge. They do like material science device that measure whether, let's say, your pipe in the nuclear plant has to be replaced. If something simple at home, sewage pipe is simple replacement. At a facility like a nuclear plant is going to be quite complex project. Yeah. So instead of taking the pipe to the testing laboratory and stopping the whole nuclear plant for whatever, God knows how long, you can take their device and test that pipe right there. Yeah. So it makes precise measurements, making small dents. Yeah. And of course, there are clients that would like to test their properties without information being sent anywhere. Yeah, and this is specifically Plastometrics, our client from Cambridge. They have really awesome two products. One is benchtop product so you can put the device right on your desk. And they have also a device that you put inside the actual exactly pipe, and you measure the properties of the pipe. Instead of digging out the pipe from the ground and sending it to the laboratory, you take the device to that pipe. One of their biggest clients are oil and gas companies. We talked about that a minute ago. So in the US, there's a regulation to test all of the gas pipes in the ground. And you can imagine that they have gas pipes, hundreds of thousands of miles of gas pipes that they have to test. Yeah, and of course we want to test them without damaging them, without taking them. I think they have to test them every 10 miles. So imagine how many holes you have to dig out and how many. So they have this. We work with them to develop the software and algorithm that goes inside this device, and they just put it inside the hole around the gas pipe, and they test whether the gas pipe can still stay there, can this still transfer gas or not. Yeah. But coming back to a question about confidentiality, this is specifically the case that you may have areas that is confidential or is restricted, and you don't want any of that to go to the cloud. So edge computing is bringing a lot of that IoT to a lot of the places that were restricted, couldn't be accessed because there's still option. It's just optional. This cloud connectivity is.
That's some very specific projects that you do. So I'm getting, for the next part of the conversation, going to be really interested to learn how you actually find those clients, right? Because obviously this is not what you do. It's not for everyone. It's a very specific type of companies, very specific challenges and problems that they have that you help them solve. So I would like to know in general, how do you find those new projects, right? What's been working over the last couple of years for you? to really engage with clients, now clients and prospects, and find yourself those fascinating projects?
Yeah, so definitely, we started in a kind of general area. Yeah. And the more we work, we try to specialize. Yeah. There's there's much less need now for general software development, firmware development. Yeah. So the more you specialize, and you can say that the client that you can solve his problem and you solve that in his domain again and again, the more trustworthy you are. Yeah. And our main way to get to the clients is to not sell to them, but to solve their problems. Like our strategy in 2022, since 2022 is, there's probably too many software engineers, too many testers, too many scrum masters around the world, but there's still not enough people that can solve problems. Solve problems in good money to value ratio, but also just get it done. Yeah. And also being then done that in this particular case. So 3 years ago, instead of trying to focus that we do firmware and just C++, or we are expert in, let's say, Amazon AWS, something like that, we try to tackle the problems from giving verticals and share that knowledge on our website when we talk to clients. Yeah, when we talk to clients, we talk about their problems, and they're much more happy to have that conversation. Yeah, so we built expert knowledge around website, which is really, really working out last year. We have our new main client that has just started 6 new projects, 6 different devices that we'll be building over next year for a client that has a big chunk of UK market. It's a dominant on that market. And we got that client through a blog article on our website about what we are expert at. And they just happen to have that Google Ad as they contacted us. We get the potential lead, get a qualified lead, we have right away to act on it. We passed free, and over a year we built projects with them, and now I'm glad we have mixed way, but officially the project about the most successful channel for
Okay. Fun. So yeah, fascinating. Is the part that I must fascinates me a lot is you're very niche down, right? So essentially now that is became your marketing. You're not, hey, we software agency, we can do something about spreadsheets, and we can do websites, and do write a Python application for this and that. You're not talking about like this. Is actually solving problems for a very specific niche, very specific set of problems and challenges. And you said though, big client came because of the blog post when you actually explained the speciality on what you've done before, right? And then actually found it extremely relevant and found enough information there to contact you and say, hey, Łukasz, could you help me solve this problem? And from what I could hear, how you described your strategy of new business acquisition, essentially you help them to solve this problem as your kind of sales strategy, right? So I take it there's a series of consultations. It is your sales process, but you essentially try to solve them, at least on the paper, ask the right questions, and really find how you can definitely help them, convince them that you're the right partner, right? Did I read it correctly from how you explained this?
Yeah, definitely. That's just a really aligned strategy. Yeah. So 3 years ago, we actually hired external consultant that had a fixed price offer for marketing strategy. And after 4 years of WizzDev, 5 years of WizzDev, we wrap around everything in a well-structured strategy. But that was a strategy, just a strategy. Yeah. Around that, execution is everything. But we had the strategy that we could execute around. Yeah. So initially we started with going to international fairs, the trade shows. We still do that. And we also start going to sharing our knowledge initially on blog posts, LinkedIn, Reddit. But we have also YouTube channel now, how to monetize your IoT product. And we have Reddit channel. So we're sharing our knowledge. Yeah? The more you share your skills, knowledge, the more traction you're going to get. Yeah. And also all those discussions now, you know it yourself. You go somewhere, and it's such a great segue to talk about your channel, the interviews you're making, and all of the encounters with interesting people you're making. So it's not really sales anymore. It's about sharing your experience, both technical expertise, as you say, a deep technical expertise, but also experience solving simple, trivial problems of communication, team setup, nearshoring, multi time zone work, or like sending things from UK to anywhere in Europe. Now I think that's sounds trivial problem, but a lot of people get stuck on that for 1 month. Some products get stuck, your prototypes get stuck.
Awesome. You've mentioned quite a few actually channels, right, for attracting those new leads and new prospects. You've mentioned obviously Google and LinkedIn and Reddit. Is it something that I know as a fact you go to events as well in person, right? Is it something that overperforms any other channel? And especially I'm talking from like a completely brand new client acquisition for you, right? So not someone referred by someone else that they just started reading, just someone that was not connected to any of your previous partners and clients, and just managed to find you from all those digital activities that you do.
Yeah. So to tell the truth, the biggest surprise for us is that the traditional method of Google Ads and Google search for us yielded the highest return so far. So pretty much on all of the trade shows, direct outreach, outbound sales, we is not making our money back. In terms of our Google Ads, about our positioning of our materials, this is a wonderful investment, and it's long term. So we, over last year, finally we got the kind of the KPIs, measure it properly, that we know that those leads came from those platforms. We would, website, or perhaps our YouTube channel, or perhaps Metas, and he just reaching out through our website. But now we have enough audio to measure it and compare. So definitely now we have a few good inbound queries through Google Search and Google Ads. So I would say half, and they are now at least half of the new clients. Yeah. There's also still my old network that is working out, but our goal is to have this more on autopilot. And you're talking about scaling up, yeah? So my network is not going to scale up as quickly as our Google Ads and Google Search. This is just the channels. It's just the fact that we're using LinkedIn, Reddit, YouTube, or Google Ads is one thing, but what we say there, yeah, that we're not trying to sell anything, we're trying to answer questions, yeah. We don't overflow our website with AI generated materials, with quality materials, yeah. All of our materials is written, but so-called software development bench. So in every software agency, there's something called a bench. So there's people sitting on a bench without currently some project. Sometimes it could be a day, sometimes it be an hour, sometimes it be a week. And we have always a list of subjects that we like them to write technical, high quality materials. Mm-hmm. From the real experience, even with spelling errors, even with poor grammar, we can always polish the grammar, yeah, but it's authentic, yeah. And this is something that our customer persona would find readable. They can read it, yeah. So like our customer persona is also from the niche. It's also quite technical. He's usually a CTO. He's usually technical project manager. Yeah, he's usually as head of engineering, maybe not be head of software engineering, maybe just mechanical engineering. And he will not have time to read all of that AI generated generate content. He's looking after really content of high quality. And that's what has paid back over the last year. So we doubled down on that.
Yeah. Absolutely love this strategy, because you say the Google Ads perform, right? But the trap with Google Ads is you don't know if that was the very first touch point, or maybe they've actually engaged with something before, right? Either YouTube or any other content, and only then actually Googled something and you won on that bid, because obviously Google knew that they've been maybe on your website before. So very often people that say the Google Ads work for them, it's not very often that it happens. It's the people that actually have loads of content around, right? So they're visible on LinkedIn, Reddit, and YouTube, and any other sources, and then people actually, when they actually put the query into Google search, you were ranked right at the top, or maybe your ads, because just because you pay doesn't mean your ad's going to be at the top or even displayed, right? So I think it's a fantastic strategy actually, and I'm like what I'm hearing, that you actually focus a lot of very good quality content, because now it's overdone with just AI right, producing mass content, but it's not very good quality. It's not really engaging. It's not really. It kind of is on the subject, but is essentially it's not ranked. It's not helping, right, very often. So beautiful strategy.
Yeah, funny that you said. We just had a study on our 30 of our blog posts, yeah, that we refined with AI. They were already written by a technical expert, and we let one of our SEO experts to refine them. Unfortunately, we let him do too much of the changes. Yeah? But that already 1 month already passed, and we wanted to compare. So 1/3 got better slightly, 30% didn't. The performance didn't change, and 30% actually went down. So we think that there's definitely some areas that could be improved with AI, some wording, but it has to be really razor sharp precision. A bulk AI approach to when you're trying to be an expert may backfire. And I'm right. I agree with you about the touch points. Yeah, that we see the clients coming through Google Ads and Google Search touch points, whereas the client has several other touch points. And we also expand on that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Started a Reddit activity, advised everybody to look at Reddit to everybody. 2023, I think 22, Google has redirected a massive amount of traffic to Reddit. If you look in the Google Trends for Reddit, more people look for Reddit now than CNN and BBC combined. It's amazing, yeah? So that creates touch points, yeah? We have a LinkedIn touch points. We post every week twicely, yeah, actually from followers. So we understand about that. And touch points is something that builds trust and also maps your problem-solving skills inside somebody's brain, yeah? So then that's the idea. Yeah, he has all those kind of map of potential solutions or solution providers. And when that problem arrives, he goes and picks up your yeah, goes and Googles you again. Yeah, and then he says, I found you on Google search. But we also doing that touch points. Yeah? But effectively, the form that people fill out to contact us, they only answer Google search and Google Ads. So the doors to our new business is through those two.
Absolutely.
Although we put emphasis on the other touch points as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you do. And I'm glad you do. And I'll tell you, not sure how much of the secret it is. I'm going to share something with you after. But obviously, there is a new kid on the block now. Everyone's going to want to rank in ChatGPT's, Perplexity, Gemini, right? And to be there, exactly. And to be there, you actually need to be on Reddit, you need to be on LinkedIn, you need to be on Quora, I think. And there's essentially 4 sources that if you're just going to have your content there, those are essentially optimized references, right? And I've actually spoken to someone very recently that they put massive focus for the last 3 to 5 months of really thinking, how do we just rank there? How do we just rank in those search engines? Because now it's taking over those search queries quite a lot. And when you think about Google, especially,
Google made a massive change in the ranking over the last 2 months. Yeah, it's massive. Yeah, a lot of links have been delisted. Yeah, and actually promoted authentic content.
Exactly.
So everything that we actually always believed in, some got promoted.
Yeah.
We didn't lose, we gained. Like over the last 2 months, everybody had their SEO enhanced, refined content that only Google bots like to read, but humans can get bored or fall asleep after 5 seconds. But our content was always authentic, and a lot of areas had a better performance, and a lot of areas is just the same. Yeah, so I agree. More and more complex. At Loop, it looks like authenticity, quality is this time around being pushed.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned Google because Google has changed, right? We use this every day, and everyone noticed that now it's actually AI summary at the top. It used to be a click, and you had to read on what that query that you actually asked was, and through there someone got you as a lead. There was maybe a space to leave an email and so on. But now you've got an answer right at the top before even scrolling down to see who posted this. And the links are very cleverly, obviously hidden as a tiny little piece. It's not even a button; it's just a little reference mark. So because of that, that world's going to change, right? People are just going to get people googling because they want an answer. And an answer is right at the top before any web page is even listed, right? And that's going to change the market massively.
People are still more interested in the opinions, other people's opinion, than knowledge. It's a good to see the difference between Stack Overflow and Reddit. Stack Overflow had always good answers. It's a very technical one, yeah. And after AI, all of this went down. The traffic on it went down. It was mainly knowledge that AI is very good at summarizing, building insights, and so on. Yeah, but Reddit inherited a lot of traffic from X and from Stack Overflow because it has opinions and has several opinions on the same matter. Yeah, and some of them are quite rubbish, and some of them are quite insightful. Yeah. And a lot of things, I personally actually found a lot of information I couldn't find on ChatGPT or Perplexity on Reddit. Yeah, somebody just simply answered me because he had that knowledge in his head. Yeah. So it's quite interesting how is that growing. And despite ChatGPT, how much opinions and how much knowledge is still out there to be written, to be shared.
Absolutely. I'm guilty of this as well. Like my Reddit is my first place when I'm actually looking for answers, right? Because just a fact is just not enough for me. I want to know what someone did with this fact, right? Or something, what they thought. Maybe there's always someone that's going to add, what they thought about it, what happened a month later when they've changed something, right? And so on and so on. So good observation. And now, before we wrap up, in your whole strategy going forward for the next year or two, is there something, obviously you've focused on quite a lot on content. You have a good strategy for Google Ads, profitable and really generating your leads. Is there something else that you're looking into for the next year or two as the WizzDev strategy that as a team you've discussed, we need to start doing maybe more of something?
Yes, we have already identified it. It's the middle of the funnel. Yeah, so we have a nice traffic at the top of the funnel, on the website, people are visiting, and we have at the bottom of the funnel. Somebody asked us for doing the project, yeah, but there we had a whole middle that we had very poor visibility. So-called lead magnets, good quality lead magnets, yeah. So white papers, yeah, bits of our code that we can share with public, yeah, reports, analysis, yeah. This is so codifying, writing down. We have internal meetings on the technology and other areas, and we're also experts on something. So sharing it in a form that people can come, fill out the form with just the email and get sample of it. Yeah. And so that would be a good value for them. Yeah. Because you can generate a really awesome, beautiful looking white paper with AI, but the first paragraph you read, it's really not there. Yeah. But if you shared something like a tutorial that you've built over years for your internal purpose, for your employees to do something, and you adjust that of course, you remove some kind of confidential information, and you adjust that for general public, then that's a value because you're using it. You will have tested it. They give you comments. Yeah. So things like that. Yeah. So we actively building lead magnets again to our customer personas. So it's like tooling how to program microcontroller, how to prevent it from burning your laptop while you're programming it. Tools that you would find and problems that we also faced, and we have workarounds that. Yeah. So definitely that's a strategy. That's a next level. Yeah. Increase the top funnel. Yeah. And have better strategy in the mid funnel. So of course there's the details how we want to do that, yeah. But that's the general direction we're going to go. Yeah, it's still the same market, more segmented. Yeah, so we divide it into wearables, and it's also IoT. We divide it into HVAC, so all of the heaters, all of the air conditioning companies, all of the medical device companies, benchtop or wearables as well. So we have now 6 sub-segments that we want to more polished and target, and also look at specific problems they have. Yeah. And for those problems, we're going to create lead magnets. Yeah. For example, you want to have a typical problem is that you want to have long-lasting battery in your device. Generic problem, yeah, but only applicable to wearables, to something that is battery powered. We have our own internal calculator, yeah. So you come up with a model of a processor, you come up with what you're going to be doing, and it gives you the estimated battery life. Yeah. We're going to be sharing that as a lead magnet. Yeah. So if, it's something that somebody is trying to get an idea how long his product is going to last on batteries.
Very, very clever. Love this strategy because obviously you work with content. You know the power of this is just educating, giving to your prospects a little bit more than they've already asked, right? So when they ask how long the battery is going to last, you give them a calculator. You can probably give them a few hints of next few three things to do if to extend it, right? Like how you would approach it. So it's very, very good strategy. And I like how you think about this in this education-based marketing is the one that I'm always the biggest fan of, right? Just educating your prospects, not pushing for sales, just educating more until you establish yourself as a authority and a specialist in something. So they actually come to you with that problem because prospects need to open up to you a little bit more, right? And you're giving them time, you're giving them resources to do so.
Yeah, as a lot of expert companies, that we follow, and actually expert agents that they share the knowledge. The side effect is that sometimes you make the client go to somebody else, because they learned about the problems, they understood that perhaps somebody else is better for them. And we don't mind that, it's good. They probably remember that they learned that on your website. To our mid-sized clients coming back to us in December because they went to somebody who is much cheaper and it's in Asia, and the projects were promised everything, but they needed this to be done, and they came back to us. So we understand that our education will yield probably 20%, maximum 10% of those educated that we will share the knowledge with will actually be our client. The rest will be going to our competitors. And that's perfectly fine.
Awesome, absolutely great, and I love why you hear how you're approaching this. And it's the really correct way, right? Really focusing on content, helping people, being visible, producing great content, right? Retargeting with proper ads. So when they actually now ready to dive deeper, you were there right at the top, and hopefully people connect those dots and they say, you know what, I've seen WizzDev. It rings the bell, click, and actually approach you. And if someone would like to find out more, right, where could they find you? Please tell us where people can go and find about those case studies and those resources you've mentioned.
Yeah, so on our website, WizzDev.com, there's a subsection called Expert Materials, where we have actually case studies and we have white papers, some source code to download. So feel free to do that. We have actually very good case studies, not only about what's the current problem, customer problem and how we solved it, but we also share the estimates in work hours, not in dollars. But you can get an idea how long it takes to develop a device that measures temperature and communicates with LTE. And because that quite often the problem that the client has is how long it's going to take. So we have case studies on expert materials at WizzDev.com, where you can actually find a breakdown in hours of estimates of various case studies.
Amazing. We'll leave those links below, so everyone that is interested, please click, check out WizzDev, check out those resources, those case studies, and how WizzDev helped companies. Well, Łukasz, thank you very much for joining me today and sharing, how you approach new business acquisition, sharing about a few projects and the story how you all started. It was, it was refreshing to hear that you're actually going the correct way after those new clients, not super pushy, not spending a lot of money on ads, but more of actually doing quite a lot of about the content, educating, helping your prospects. And it was very refreshing to hear. Thank you very much for today.
Yeah, Pete, thanks so much for inviting. Very, very useful. It's always good to refresh yourself for an interview like this. And I watch your YouTube channel. It looks very, very appropriate also for a lot of my customers and clients. So thanks again.